So we're back with the news on the KrakCast this week. Hey, everybody, before we dive into that, quick reminder about our donate button on our website.
I'll give it up, John.
Which I think we need to make it bigger with like flashing neon or something like that.
Nobody cares.
Oh, and if you do press, remember to wash your hands before and after.
KrakCast.pl. All of our back episodes are there. So if you need to catch up,
virus-free episodes,
and hit the donate button if the spirit moves you. If you like what we're doing, we appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who's already done exactly that. Okay, if you are a longtime listener of our show, you know that we have pretty low standards around here. And this week, well, we might just dig a little deeper into the ground and lower those standards even more. We're all a little more relaxed, I guess you could say, than we normally are. A little more extra so-called preparation for the show.
I'm blaming our guests. That was a very long episode.
Yeah, they made us drink, didn't they? Anyway.
No, we've just been recording already for quite a while.
Well, this is true. Okay, that's true.
I'm kind of tired.
All right, so let's run through some subjects. Let's start with, it's kind of hard to avoid this subject this week, the coronavirus. Everybody's talking about it. Poland's first confirmed case this week in Zielona Góra, a guy who had apparently just come from Germany. And we're just seeing in the last couple of hours indications that maybe there are up to 4 more confirmed cases in a few locations around the country. Mm-hmm. Not much we could say about the virus itself, but guys, what do you think? What are your impressions of how the virus has been covered and treated in the Polish media in the last week or two?
I think it's the same story as you have with the international media, that they've been overexposing people to it, getting the panic going, telling people that things are, in short supply in stores and pharmacies, so people run out and buy things they don't actually need. There's an argument to be made about informing people about any type of health situation that the public is concerned with, but this is not that kind of serious of a threat. I mean, of course it's serious, but the way the media presents it, they make it seem like we'll be losing 20% of the population within the next 6 months.
Well, but where are we going? Are we going to total shutdown of European airspace? That's what I think is going to happen.
But that will be mainly due to the fear and not to an actual real threat.
Perhaps. But
okay, well, look, like the way that I like to look at this in the most kind of positive way is that hopefully this will turn out to be much less of a threat than perhaps some people have been thinking. And that it is an excellent, shall we say, kind of like rehearsal opportunity for the entire globe to deal with the possibility that at some point in the future, some serious, like super contagious virus may kind of sweep things. Because I think what we can say about this so far, it's been in existence, it's acknowledged existence since about November last year. So whilst it is infectious, it is not infecting people at a highly exponential rate. And, if you like, that is the kind of encouraging news that although, of course, the rate of infection is increasing, which you would expect, the rate of increase is not as rapid as would be the case if it's something that is seriously contagious.
I mean, you're completely correct about this. From an epidemiological standpoint, this disease hasn't been very virulent. People were afraid it was going to spread everywhere. And the thing is, it probably already has, because it's more or less airborne. So coughing, sneezing will spread this disease. You can't really quarantine this disease. By the time it was actually made public, it was already all around the world. And the only reason we're finding it now is because we're really, really looking for it.
I noticed about a week and a half ago that it seemed to me that a lot of the regional media publications in Poland, it was almost as if I had the impression that they were almost in a competition to see who could declare the first confirmed case. Yeah. Just for clickbait reasons. We've got it here, we have it here, definitely for sure. And then 2 hours later, the Warsaw Health Ministry would say, no, the suspected case turned out to be something else. And
Mike, it's journalists in every hospital.
It's almost like they wanted to find it.
I'm expecting that this first person who was infected, this man who was driving through Zielona Góra, as soon as he gets healthy, I'm sure we're going to see him on TV being interviewed.
Also on a related but slightly different subject, we were talking before we started recording about how we all know people here in Krakow that work in big companies, and these companies are taking what seem to be some excessive steps to combat the virus. Standard things like encouraging people to stay home, but canceling lots of foreign travel, canceling meetings, canceling anything where more than 3 people are going to be in the same room, not letting delivery guys come in and, do their job. Are we overreacting a little bit?
Well, look, businesses are just trying to be responsible, aren't they? I mean,
better safe than sorry.
Their asses. That's what.
Well, in some cases that will definitely happen. You'll have companies going bankrupt like Flybe blaming this shit like that. That's a whole other kettle of fish. But I think in general, the cancelling of business travel is for non-essential business travel. It's kind of like why not cancel it? But yeah, I mean, It seems to me that we're slowly grinding towards a conclusion here that we all have to isolate ourselves for the next few weeks. And the economic effects of this could be tremendous. The pressure put on supply chains around the world. I think these are all legitimate concerns. Whether or not the illness is as virulent as people fear, the effects of it are going to be felt globally. I mean, I'm slowly coming around to this. Obviously, I was quite mocking of this a few weeks ago when we started covering it. But I'm getting more and more concerned. I'm supposed to be going for get drunk for St. Patrick's
We saw
Day.
what happened to what's it called, Flybe in the UK a couple of days ago. Just quick prediction time. If this goes
They were
on for,
already basket
Well, they were on.
cakes,
Virgin bought them out a year ago.
they were on
and tried to
shaky
make
ground.
something of it,
But just quick prediction time. If this goes on for another 3 weeks or a month, could you see LOT or EasyJet or whatever, approaching real financial trouble?
Airlines are certainly at risk from going bankrupt from this. Yeah, I don't see any other conclusion than to agree with you. Weak airlines will be really worried this month.
It will be hard for airlines, but you also remember when airlines aren't flying, they're also not burning fuel, which is one of their main costs. So they won't be making money during this time, but their costs will be slightly smaller than if people were just not flying, but they were still.
I don't know, Dr. Mike. That's like saying a restaurant with no customers is kind of saving money by not cooking food.
Well, food perishes. Fuel you can store for quite a while.
Oh, this is getting deep now. Okay, we're going to move on here. Let's go to a different subject. Dave, we found out this week
Are you
that...
texting?
I'm looking at my phone because I don't have my computer.
Jesus Christ, how much does this bore you?
Oh, I'm saying,
I'm not
John,
texting. Jesus Christ, I'm actually looking at our agenda for today.
All right,
Have you-
excuse
have you-
me.
have
Is
you
that
not thought-
okay,
have
Your
you not
I normally
Majesty?
use a phone. I've never
Have you
seen-
not thought about getting reading glasses? You're kind of holding the phone at an enormous
I'm holding it at a
distance.
reasonable... Fuck all of you. Okay, shut up. All right. That sounded nastier than I meant it. But
So aggressive. Jesus, John.
we learned this
We've
week,
known
as
each
I
other
was
for years. That was
saying,
cold.
Yeah.
We have guests, for God's sake.
All right, fifth attempt at this. A feasibility study this week, Dave, confirmed what... did it confirm? Or did it...
No, it's
question?
like some old report that was sitting around a fucking drawer. Where's my 9 million zloty report? What the fuck is going on with this shit?
Well, this feasibility study was for the idea of
Fast
connecting the rail network in Krakow and building up new stops in different areas to see if that would help people.
So this is nothing to do with the underground. I got
Nothing to do with
confused.
the underground. Yes,
No, not that.
There was a studies was put forward to see which connections in Krakow would actually make sense economically speaking. 11 different routes were proposed. Three were stated to be actual. In some ways reasonable. One being from Balice Airport through the center of town to Nowa Huta, and then two of the other routes were basically these like circular routes around the city. One in a closer circle and one in a larger circle that would connect like Nowa Huta and Prodnik and so forth.
We have all these big plans to build these rail connections that were, this is, as we said, this is an addition. This is separate from the quick, underground metro thing. Why do we have all these big plans and we don't even have a train that can get us to Katowice in less than 2 hours?
Well, that's another story we'll be talking about in a bit of a moment. But here in Krakow, what they're suggesting doesn't actually involve much in the way of infrastructure construction, because this rail network is already here. What the main construction would have to be is building up stations and just upgrading some of the connections. So it's all there. Some people saying, it could be done in 2-3 years. The connection between Balice and Nowa Huta would only cost about 300 million zlotys, which I'd like to mention is basically how much the Wisła Stadium that the city is losing money on cost.
Hard to believe that we don't have enough rail lines already. It's really weird. Okay, let me quickly introduce. We have two people in the room that I didn't introduce earlier because
you're rude and
because I just
drunk.
didn't. And they're joining us for another episode of recording that we're going to broadcast. We're going to release
on the old
later,
interweb
later this week about 5G technology. Pavel Markevich and Marcin Kash are here, and Pavel's making a motion that suggests he has something to say about rail connections.
Yeah, in terms of the connection to Katowice, which you mentioned,
Yeah, which doesn't exist and really
which
sucks.
doesn't exist. Didn't you
Pathetic.
think that the perfectly working, most expensive highway has something to do with it?
No. No, not at all. What are you talking? Oh, there's a highway to Warsaw. So should we cancel the trains?
I think
to
I have
Warsaw?
to kind of
What are you
slightly
talking about?
question the adjectival kind of perfectly working kind of part of that, though. I have never been along the A4 when there hasn't been cones at some section.
Well, that's true too. No, the rail
It
connection.
is a fast
the rail
road. I used to drive up to Katowice in less than an hour all the time. Yeah, I mean,
And my dad's made it in 30 minutes, but let's not talk about that.
Yes.
We have roads to.
I wasn't driving.
We have roads to most cities. Pavel, should we liquidate the rail connections to cities that we have road connections to?
I
Why are you
think-
fighting with me?
I thought, yes, let's liquidate.
No, but the rail connection when I first moved to Poland to Katowice was like an hour, 20 hours.
Not
30.
even that.
Now
It's like 45 minutes.
15 now.
How is that possible? But
Like, what is it, 70 kilometers?
Yeah,
Because
It's
we
really
have
close.
a perfectly working highway.
we have an under-maintained rail connection there. That's the problem. But they've been working on it for the past 6 years. When they're done, it's supposed to be about an hour.
So where's my underground study? It's been promised.
we're still
to me
waiting
for
on that one
months,
too.
John.
Yeah, the city commission. This is the 9 million zloty one you're talking
Yeah,
about, right?
the big one.
Yeah, so they commissioned the people to advise on what kind of potential
By the way, all
underground
of
rail
the
system.
projects
And
you
never
just
got it.
mentioned sound like a great idea. I say,
No,
go
tell
on.
me right now.
Pull the trigger.
Within the greater Krakow area, what are the two places that are not connected by a high speed rail that need to be?
You do the geography. That's
what do you
your
think?
area. I don't know. I live in the center. I
But
walk
just think about it.
everywhere.
What are we missing? What are we missing? From where to where?
Well, for instance, Nova Huta, center of town, there is a rail connection there, but it's not used for transiting the public. You have trams.
It's
like
for
that.
freight, I guess. maybe?
And the whole idea of these feasibility studies to see if that could be used as a connection, because then you can get from Nova Huta to the center of the town in about 11, 12 minutes.
Yeah, but I don't live in Nova Huta, so.
But there are other people that live there, and the whole idea is building up a infrastructure like this is to let both parts of the city grow and connect.
But Nova Huta is far too big to be serviced by one central train station anyway, so that doesn't work.
Can you get it by a tram from your apartment to?
Yeah, I live on the roundabout of Jegorzecka near there, so it's perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
Wait a minute,
Public
wait a minute,
transport in Krakow.
Pavel, there are roads.
We are talking about
there
the
are roads
subway.
that connect Nova Huta to the center of town. Should we liquidate the rail connection?
I thought you guys live here.
No. Josh lives in public transport hell here on the.
Wait, we are talking about the subway, right? The hypothetical subway that is supposed
Well, that kind of. We can if you want to.
We love to
Well,
talk about
I think it's not about connecting parts of the city to each other. It's about cutting the time to go from one part of the town to another, right?
Sure.
If you try to go from Bronovice to Nowa Huta right now, it takes you an hour,
Yeah, it's crazy.
right? Because you have to go through the city center. You have to go around the Rynek, and it sucks.
Yeah, it's bad.
I'll tell you, I live there.
But the question that becomes,
I know that
Marcin,
firsthand. I have to go around
Personal
the Rynek every
testimony.
day.
the question
Every
becomes
single day.
at what cost, right? I guess that's
Cost is $340?
no, not that cost.
$430.
Not that cost. The cost of the theoretical metro system. That cost.
Well, what is the cost though?
Billions.
I mean,
The metro system is billions.
We don't know. We're waiting on our 9 million zloty feasibility study to tell us.
But this rail connection I was talking about that will connect Nova Huta to the city center.
Yeah, this is a
Airport.
no-brainer. This.
It's about 300 million.
Yeah.
that's not that much.
No, it's good value.
Like I was
They
saying-
spent that on like flowers last year. We did the city budget. It was like green spaces. Green spaces was like
300 some million zlotys because the rail network
for
is
a metro line.
all you have to do is build the
above
stations.
Linia agglomeracyjna. That's what
okay. So,
and you can get from Nova Huta. Yeah, it's less sexy than an underground network, but you get from Nova Huta, the center of town, in like 13 to 11 minutes or something like that.
I think the train we need is from Balica to the train station without stopping at these goddamn 8 or 10 suburban stations.
I was
That's what
so
we need.
excited about
That's
that line when they
ridiculous.
built it, and then you get on it, and it's just such a disappointment. It only leaves
Straight
once
from the
every hour
airport to this train
sometimes.
station, no stops in
That's
between.
part of the construction issue because it's supposed to go every 20
Jan Paweł
minutes.
train, is that the one? Is that the Jan Paweł
No,
train?
that's not the one.
Oh, sorry.
What's the different? What's the Jan Paweł train?
This one goes to Wadowice.
Okay, Jan Paweł II. John Paul II.
You know, when I first saw the JP2 sign in Poland, I thought they were talking about Jurassic Park 2.
Really?
JP2. Yeah, when I saw that on...
The second episode?
The second part.
Let's move on. Similar subject. We're still talking about tracks, but this time it's tram tracks. A couple of days ago, let's see, what's today? Friday as we record this. So I think this happened Wednesday night or Thursday night. The tram exploded. On Alejo Pokoju. Now that probably creates a mental image.
Kind of funny the statement, was it? We'd like to reassure the public that there was no terrorism involved. Our trams just explode
and
spontaneously.
explode may be slightly exaggerating what really happens. Something on the
Windows
tram.
were all shattered. It was an explosion.
Yeah, it was strong enough to shatter the window. That's true. We learned afterwards that this tram was 52 years old, which to me is more shocking than the explosion
It's
part.
impressive, is what you
It's
mean.
actually
I
one
don't
of the
think
old
so.
trams that were donated to Krakow from Nuremberg. It's one of those...
Why are we still using German cast out? We have these brand new multi-billion-dollar bombardiers or whatever it's called, and we're still using donated trains from Germany. That's weird.
Still not enough new ones.
Why
That's-
not though? I
Yeah,
mean,
they work. They're made of like iron and shit.
How many different kinds of trams do we have on the tracks? There must be
Lots of.
There's too many
4 or
models.
5. You have the Aquarium with the ones from the 70s, 80s. You have the Nuremberg ones. That's the second type. Then you have the ones they introduced in the late 90s, like the first modern-looking one. So that's 3. The Bombardiers are 4. And now you have the Cracovia, which are 5 that I can think of right now.
So we have some, like I said, that cost millions and millions of zlotys, and others that are literally cast-offs from Germany that are more than half a century
Most
old.
of them are like cast-offs.
Not most of them.
Yeah, but they're all. We also have the double. What is it called? Like the ones that have doors on both sides.
Those are the Nuremberg ones. The
No.
Like tram number 5, I think.
Have,
Is like that.
yeah, well,
But they look the old ones, the Nuremberg, look nice. I think.
they look nice. That's where the value
The
is.
Nuremberg ones are the round ones, like the 22.
They-
on it.
they look nice.
I like them ones.
I don't care about getting to
angular
work
ones
on
are
time.
horrible. Yeah.
I care about the trams and how they look like.
Cycle to work.
Well, I think
just
we can
want
all
them to run
agree.
on time and be air conditioned.
We can all agree those Nuremberg trams are just doing their job. So
I like the way they look.
Getting
he got it. Thank you.
matters to me.
they are cool.
That's what matters to me.
Getting a book.
Try and rally the troops here.
I'm trying.
Getting a buggy on and off one is a 2-person operation, though, and you best be in sync. Let me tell you.
Let's talk
The
about.
modern Bombardier trams are kind of like the engines are on
I
the
always
roof.
try. I try.
And the floors are low, whereas the older trams, the engines are above the bogies, and so you have to climb higher. And so for people who are kind of like mobility disadvantaged,
Yeah, they're
or whatever
horrible.
the expression
The old
is.
That was actually pretty interesting. I'm sorry we were
Thank you very
sarcastic.
much.
Okay, how many of you actually use public
I use
transport?
public transport every day for years, and the only reason I don't anymore is because I have nowhere that I need to use. I walk everywhere now because my office is a lot closer to
Why
home.
do you care?
I love public transport.
I do too.
I love Krakow's public transport network. You can get anywhere in 20 minutes. It's amazing.
Well, unless you're going from Bronovice to Nowa Huta, and it takes an hour. Thank you very much.
Wait, do you really take the tram from Bronovice to Nowa Huta?
Well, if I would like to, it would take me an hour.
Now it's if. It's like a
No,
conditional
honestly-
theoretical.
No, I live in, next to Plac Inwalidów. I'm not going to tell where I live, though.
yeah. And you didn't
I
think
work
to have
around
a...
the,
You can tell me, just whisper it.
a river, so I live there, but I work around Limanowskiego. That's where I work.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
have to go from there. It's in Podgórze.
It's
also
a
known
bastard
as
of a
not
journey.
Nowa
Oh,
Huta.
by the way, did you know that the what is it called?
I love the way you tip the microphone like Michael Bublé. It's fucking class, man. I love the way you tip the mic.
Oh yeah.
Figure you're going to break into a really classy Christmas song right now.
I want to talk about Krakowska Street for a moment here
I'm so sorry.
Why?
because it's being worked,
Renovated?
renovated for the past what is it? 8,
Slowly.
9,
Yes, they keep
10?
finding gates. Assault gate.
was supposed to be
and another-
finished
Now
in
the person
January.
in charge of the renovation or whatever it's called said that it's going to be done when it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, translation, shut up.
Yeah, basically just
Predicted on this show before they ever put a fucking
Go
shovel in
around.
the ground.
I have to say, actually, as someone who is kind of frequently kind of like walking Krakowska, that the new pavements, when they're finished, I think are going to be the most splendid, the best pavements.
Yeah, that's nice.
in the whole of Krakow. Actually.
Can we go back to the exploding tram for a second? Okay, I guess we've never been in a situation. Nobody's ever been on a tram that exploded, right? What do you think your reaction would be? I mean, would it be heroic, like helping old ladies off the tram, or would it be, I'm out of here, you guys do whatever?
Half of us here are millennials, so I think we'd just be streaming it live.
I'd look for a kind of, an older leadership figure to kind of lead us through the fog, see if there's a kind of a Casey Ryback on that train,
Dave, do you think you would be helping the little old ladies off the tram, or you'd be running?
That's a good question, John.
Can't answer that honestly here.
Well, I mean...
Let's ask Marcin. He's in the mood to answer some questions.
help you.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Martin. Would you sing me a song?
Let's go to farmers. We love to talk about farmers. We love farmers.
Farmers are protesting.
Yeah, they're always angry about something. The farmers are. Dr. Mike, tell us what's up with the farmers. What's their complaint this week?
Well, as we all know, Krakow has introduced laws to fight smog. That involves actually limiting the use of coal furnaces or any furnace that uses actually physical material that needs to be burned. Solid fuels, exactly. And turns out that farmers need this for their work as well. They often need to, say, heat up the field. You might have seen fields where they actually have these like plastic coverings over vegetables or their crops. They sometimes have to heat that in certain scenarios, so they use old-style furnaces. They also need furnaces, for instance, to smoke certain products.
Sausages.
For instance, sausages, yes.
Like what else? Giblets?
Or you can also dry tobacco leaves, and you need to use furnaces as well. And they're saying like
they grow tobacco in Poland.
yes, they do.
So
it's a
ignorant.
huge industry, and the EU's kind of killing it. And one of the main problems is that if they try to use photovoltaic or any type of source of energy, it's going to be way too expensive when we're talking huge fields. And they were protesting, basically saying that these new laws coming in are just going to kill their industries in a lot of situations.
So isn't it easy enough to give them an exemption from the law?
That's kind of what they were protesting about. Give us an exemption. We're not burning plastic in these furnaces because this is stuff we eat. So it's wood and coal. It's filtered, but they're still not exempt from the current laws.
If only there was a way of extracting energy from grey skies, then the whole problem would be solved.
What I don't understand is they're burning the coal, but their plants are sucking it in right as way. It's a carbon capture program built in. The EU should be paying them for this.
Are we sympathetic to the farmers or screw them?
In this case, yeah.
Yeah, what?
We're sympathetic. Local produce, and
But if we
stick it
catch
to the
them
man.
burning any fucking plastic, we won't be
I
amused.
don't know. Maybe it's different elsewhere in the EU, Dave and Josh, like in France famously, where the EU farmers are basically not allowed to fail no matter what. They get everything they want. The Polish farmers seem to have a tougher go of it, or what's your take?
They're all part of the common agricultural policy.
Well, that's right.
Yes, but France gets
French farmers,
disproportionately, 25%.
Yeah.
they protest against everything. They get subsidies for everything.
I think French farmers are slightly more
And,
equal than Polish
Tell me
farmers.
again where all the best food in the world comes from.
Yeah, but they don't need to be subsidized for it.
Yeah, well, look, these are protected industries, but do you have a cheese industry worth saving in this country? No.
I like my Irish too.
So what? We should give the farmers whatever they want.
Well, I'm just saying that those French farmers know how to farm. You got to give it to them.
They know how to farm here as well, but so why should we?
Well, they make an awful lot of the world's best products in places like Italy and France and Spain. Do we really want to get rid of the incentive to make some of the finest craft ingredients in the world?
But there's no problem of growing stuff here as well. An onion is an onion, and if it's half the price here because it's locally produced, why should we introducing laws that makes it more difficult for them?
Plus, you shouldn't need incentives to grow tasty food because people want tasty food, so therefore there's a market demand.
I do agree
grossly
that
distort the market as well.
I do agree that a farm that has to, use a furnace to heat certain things should be allowed to do so. But I suppose you could also use the old EU trick of giving them grants to invest in cleaner technologies. That's how we've always done things. We upskill farming. That's the common agricultural policy is all about.
I'm reminded of a point in a
technology.
book that I've read. I know you've read, Josh, you've read it. Maybe some other people in this room have also read it. By P.G. O'Rourke. He's talking about farmers, and he says that when the weather is good, there's a bumper crop. There's too much of the product, so the price goes down. So the government steps in to raise the prices. When the weather is bad, there's a scarcity, and farmers don't have enough to sell at the market. So the government steps in to help in that. So basically, no matter what the weather, no matter what happens to the crop, the government is there to make sure the farmers never fail.
But there's always a flip side to it, isn't it? The corn surplus in America means that an amazing amount of the products we all love and
Which is a
cherish
product of subsidies,
are
by the way.
dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So what do you want? Do you want expensive Nutella?
Well, they're not dirt cheap. You're just not paying for it directly. You're paying it through taxes. So in the store it's a little bit cheaper, but you're actually paying for the higher taxes.
No, because everyone's expected to produce bountiful amounts of food, and they do. You just have your own. Like you just touched on, John. You basically have your own version of the common agricultural policy in America.
Yeah, I'm not saying that only European subsidies are bad.
You know why farmers are a protected species and have political power everywhere? Because everybody needs to fucking eat every day. They're important.
French farmers, they get pissed off.
Amen.
They go to the government offices in Paris and dump a ton of dead fish on the doorway or something like that.
Yeah, but when
dramatic.
They choose to catch the good stuff, it tastes delicious.
All right, I don't know how to follow that up, so let's move on.
Well, look, I get it. Look, in Ireland too, the farming lobby is massively powerful. Our Taoiseach said that he was going on a diet and he was going to eat less steak, and he got picketed outside our parliament by the farmer, the beef lobby, and he wasn't long before he was shown in a restaurant, chowing down on a big Hereford cut. Look, farmers are powerful everywhere. That's my point.
Which part of Ireland is Hereford, just out of curiosity?
The English
You can
part.
have the fucking breed of cow eating our grass in our country, Don't be difficult, Joshua.
Actually, but honestly, which cut is that though? What kind of cut is that? From the sirloin or?
I think that's just the cow Hereford.
No, but he said cut.
Yeah. But Hereford is a type of cow, not a type of
So,
cut.
but he said cut, so that's why I'm asking what kind of cut that is, because I didn't know what kind of cut that was.
Delicious one.
Yeah, an Irish one. Grass-fed
Probably a
biatch.
ribeye if he's got any kind of like sensitivity.
If it is delicious, it's ribeye.
Look,
Andre
look, all I
Dudas.
should have said is our Taoiseach was then pictured eating a steak.
Speaking
okay?
of cut, can I? Yeah, okay, sorry. Andre Duda is in the news this week. Not surprising. He's the president of the country, so he's in the news quite often, actually. But he had to make a decision about 2 billion zlotys, guys. Dave, Dr. Mike, somebody step in and tell us what the 2 billion zlotys is all about and what's he going to do?
Well, basically, this is money that the government has proposed to pay into the public media system, TVP and the radio, because a few months earlier, last year, in the budget, they actually gave exemptions to a lot of people so they didn't have to pay for the TV radio license, which meant that less money was being sent in to the TV and public radio services. So the government has now said they're like, okay, in that case, we need to compensate for this amount of money that they're not getting from the licenses that we excluded other people from, and that's about 2 billion zlotys. It was supposed to be one of these like normal pieces of legislation put out there just to equalize the budget. This is the kind of thing that gets put out every couple of years by different governments just to make the budget come up properly. But then the opposition has protested this mainly because TVP has become kind of a mouthpiece for the government, and they said, and the opposition kind of cynically said "Oh, let's send that money to cancer patients instead."
I'm sorry, Mike. Can I just step in?
And in Ireland, we call these adjustments, these little post-budget
Exactly.
kind of add-ons.
For
They're
the,
such a fucking scam. It's so annoying.
It's a scam, but it's
just tell us the budget. How can you have an adjustment a day later? Why didn't you tell us the day before?
If there's anybody listening still to the show, that you might not know that in Poland, Dr. Mike, what's the amount? If you have a TV, you're obligated to pay a license. Nobody really pays it, but technically, legally, you're supposed to pay. What is it? How much is it a year?
Nobody really
think
pays
it's-
it. John, dangerous thing
Nobody
to say
pays
on
it.
air.
Nobody pays it.
It's about 200
We
some
all
zlotys
pay
a
it.
year.
Oh yeah, I paid it obviously,
But
but
it's for the radio or for the radio and TV. If in your household you have any instruments that can actually receive
you're
that
supposed
signal.
to pay this. Like, let's say, call it 200 zlotys a year.
Mandatory, but it's like with the BBC license fee, it's very difficult to actually.
Well, BBC enforces it, as far as I know. They're quite serious about enforcing it. Whereas
but if
in
you don't
Poland,
open the door or answer the phone,
so
then
much.
they really can't do anything about it.
75.6 zloty per year for just a radio and a TV adds up to about 245.
All right, so we're in the right field there.
So Duda can decide to give $2 billion to public broadcasting. As of right now, do we know what the decision was? Is he? We don't know. Okay.
Night of the recording, it's supposed to come out, so we have no idea. So you guys listening to the show in a couple of days, you'll know more than us.
See, Josh, you should be happy.
Won't be the first time they know more than us, I
With
think.
the British license fee, you get Graham Norton, and they get fucking Via Dushme. Jesus Christ.
Hey, but we're getting Eurovision Junior in Krakow, so
Oh, we
yeah.
covered that last week, Mike.
I want
Old
to say the same thing that I've said before on this subject. For those of you who complain about TVP being biased, supporting the current government, for example, or maybe supporting the previous government, look, if you don't like that, why do you support the concept of public television at all? Why does the government own a TV station? Any TV station?
I think TVP
Why?
are making a very good case for not fucking supporting public
Get rid
television.
of it. Privatize it.
I mean,
Jesus
I
Christ.
don't understand why the argument that the government is supposed to produce this kind of content for me. It just never has gone.
What is this, 1972, and you still have very few options? I mean, come on, it's a different world.
I hate TVN as well, but you know what? If I don't want to support them, I just change the channel.
TVN or TVP?
TVN. I can change the channel. It's a commercial channel, so I don't support the products they advertise. Whatever, I have a choice. But with TVP, don't really have a choice because you're technically supposed to pay for it. But if you're not paying for it, the government is still taking money out of the budget. So out of your taxes,
in a world of Netflix and YouTube, why are we paying the government to produce any kind of so-called entertainment at all?
in there,
Marcin, what do you think?
Are there any public TV stations in the U.S.?
There's PBS.
Yeah, PBS. They make good documentaries,
Which is hard, but it's hard. They don't
mostly
have the
funded by private
profile.
money,
They don't have
actually.
the profile that TVP has here. PBS is a forgotten kind of PBS, Sesame Street, that kind of thing.
Also, the radio station?
NPR.
NPR.
So
Yeah.
they're both public.
So it's
Are there in any way
Can I just say that
financed
PBS
by the government?
PBS
they ask for grants,
Yes.
but it's not like a forced. They might not get the money some years.
PBS gets sponsored by a lot of private money as well, Rockefeller
Foundations and Ford
etc. And famously, all their documentaries start with those painful 4 minutes of thank yous to all of this shit.
Yes.
It fucking wrecks
But
my head.
PBS
One of my favorite
listen-
ones was actually funded by the Koch brothers.
PBS is
Yeah, a lot
not
of
in the
them
same league with ABC, NBC, CBS, the big American networks, whereas TVP obviously is. It's a major, I guess it's the biggest broadcaster in the
Koch
country, and the
Foundation.
government owns it. Why does no one, and this goes for all of Europe, I think, why does no one question the idea, again, of having a government-owned TV station?
People question it all the time. That's why we're always laughing at the British for giving out, because they've got the only decent fucking one.
Those are some passionate words.
I hate RTE. RTE is like 200 quid a year.
Before we
What do
started
we get for
recording,
it?
before we started recording, I think someone here said that they would gladly pay for BBC.
I think I did that.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, me too.
I think they make really good shows.
Yeah.
I don't know. The latest episode of Doctor Who really pissed me
Okay,
off.
quick
Start
question.
them off about Doctor Who. We've been here
Quick
all
question.
night.
We
My
got
God.
3 Polish people in the room. Quick question just for them, Marcin, Pavel, Dr. Mike. If we put it to a referendum, hey, Polish people, vote on this. We're gonna completely withdraw all public funding from TVP. They have to go completely private. What kind of support do you think that would get among Polish people? To totally defund
Among Polish people in general,
Yeah.
or the Polish people?
No,
in the room?
the whole country. A whole country.
I
We're
don't
gonna
think they're gonna
we're gonna
go for it. I
defund
don't think they're
TVP
gonna go
and it's
for
gonna
it.
go private.
No, I don't think they're going to go for it because
No?
the people that actually watch TVP are like 65-year-old. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and they love that shit.
I insulted my parents. I'm sorry. But that is the older generation.
Yeah, no, it's a fact. It's a fact.
It's a fair point.
So there's no
Yeah,
real
it's an absolute.
You can't count me as not paying for it.
there's no real support for privatizing TVP.
no,
No.
but the question was who actually watches TVP, right?
I didn't do any.
No, we were saying.
No, the question was what
To privatize it.
Would they support privatizing it?
The
That's the question.
whole Polish populace gets a choice. Yes
Yeah,
or no?
I know.
What's the percentage?
I think I would go with the Mikey's and I privatize it and let it die.
No, I would privatize it tomorrow or today. My point is that most Polish people are probably going to say no. That's my point.
So if we put
They're
it to
just
a,
used to it.
Yeah,
we
no,
put
that
it to
was
a
the
vote,
question.
the vote
In
would
fairness,
fail.
That was the question.
Yeah,
The vote would
that
fail.
was the question.
Yeah, that was the
That
question.
the question.
If we asked the country.
I think if you talking about like free market stuff, that's out of the question. But if you would put it to vote, I would say people would vote to keep it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
that's my point.
Yeah.
That was the question. What
Yeah.
would happen if people asked, like, do you want to keep it privatized? Or sorry, state-owned or privatize it? People would say, keep it state-owned. I don't want to privatize it for.
They would want it to survive.
Yeah, probably. Which sucks.
Kinda.
Because I reckon if they privatize it, it would be a better TV station, probably.
Maybe, but just quick, we'll move on, but just quickly. The people who support PO, the people on the left in the Polish political culture who attack TVP now because it's biased, and it is, why don't they just, why do they still defend the idea of public television when they know that it's, it can be so easily manipulated by the party in power? And that's my question for them is, okay,
It's actually a pretty good point.
if it's biased, why don't you just support the idea of killing public TV, especially today? This is not 1972.
Well, that's a different question. You originally asked him how the public would vote. Now you're asking how he would vote.
Well, no. I'm just
You're implying that I'm a PO.
I'm just saying
voter.
critics of TVP as it exists today. Why don't you just support liquidating public TV generally? That's my question.
I am for that.
Okay.
By the way, I am for that. I am.
One more thing we're going to mention, there's an obituary of a guy, all due respect to him and his family, but I'm guessing that 99% of you listening never heard of this guy.
Stanislav Kania.
Kanya is dead. Kanya is dead.
Yeah, it
Kanya.
caused a bit of alarm at home when I said that. Not, the Kanye
Not
West.
Kanye, but Kanya.
Yeah.
Dr. Mike, tell us who this Mr. Kanya was.
God damn it, you had to put it to me. I actually had to Google him as well. He was basically the leader of Poland in 1980 for this 1 year between Gierek, sorry.
Yes.
And
Jaruzelski.
when Jaruzelski
He was
took
the head
over.
of state. That's
Well,
a big deal.
Here's my. I'll jump in there because I was recently reading a book and he featured heavily in it. His big thing is he sent to Moscow basically to face Brezhnev, and Brezhnev wants him to properly crack down on solidarity, as in he's threatening him with invasion. He's going to say, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. And in this weird way, Kanye makes this...
Kanya.
Yeah. He makes a speech at the Soviet Congress, right? But
It says Beyonce should be the one who
gives quite an honest appraisal of the situation and why it would be a terrible idea to invade Poland. But at the same time, he adds a clause at the end of it that's not in the Polish version that he'd done at the party plenum a few months before.
Oh, surprise.
And this is where he admits, and this is documented, that he has built the force of 30,000 people to implement martial law if that's needed. And that became very important later when he was put on trial post collapse, because it proved that not just was he in league with Jaruzelski, he actually helped build that martial law.
Question for our Polish people here: why doesn't he have a bigger profile? Why isn't he more well known to the public?
What are we talking about again?
exactly. That's
about the Kanya.
He was the leader of the country. He was the head of
About the
state.
mushroom?
And as Dave just said, at a very important, critical time in Poland's history, and almost nobody knows his name.
Well, he gets a bit of credit as well, because some Polish people are a bit reasonable and they say, well, look, he actually did stop, the huge clampdown. He persuaded the Soviets that we could handle it internally, but then he got, ousted by Jaruzelski, who had always intended to get heavy.
Maybe a bit of explanation on why people might remember the name better, because Kanya is actually a type of mushroom in Polish. That's the same name. The kite mushroom is called Kanya.
Okay.
Both like kite.
Does it get you high as, or is it just good in a risotto?
It's you deep fry it with some breading, and it's really.
Wait, are you saying that he's not as famous as he should be because his name means mushroom?
We just went. Yeah, and that's a
really
common
weird
mushroom
reason.
that people remember.
He should be more famous then.
He was a famously boring man as well.
well, yeah, we went from an
I think
obituary
our
to a
generation
recipe.
just doesn't remember him, probably.
That's a shame.
My household has always been very political, especially about this era, and is also a guy that I just like. When I read it, it's like, oh, him. Yeah, now it's coming back to me.
Yeah.
So what? He was like 92 or something. So I mean,
Good innings,
You
good
did all
innings.
right. Yeah. But I have to say, there was
Call
this
me bastard.
great photograph. I think on one of the many articles I was reading about his kind of glorious career in the last
His what?
several hours. Like a photo of him and Jaruzelski standing together, and you think like that is two really odd-looking dudes.
Yes, two.
Jaruzelski was really weird looking, wasn't he?
Yeah, the shades, didn't he? Yeah.
Apparently, he got snow blindness when he was in a gulag in northern Russia from.
Sure he did.
That's pretty
Owen
hardcore.
Snow.
Okay, so as not to end the show
Somebody have to run that place.
on a death, is there some closing note we can bring in here?
We have some humorous thing to kind of round off the news.
I just don't. Do we have any?
A vegetable that looks like a three-legged man with a
Anything funny happen this week?
message.
No.
There's a man in Krakow that cuts women's hairs.
You find that funny?
That is. Then that's actually not funny.
This is assault.
It's like the opposite of.
So he didn't finish. The man who's cutting what?
Like a hairdresser.
He cuts hair.
He's
off
like
women's heads.
He's like walking up behind, presumably behind women, and just snipping their hair off and running
I'm not
away.
entirely sure if he did it to like how many women did he did it to. I mean, like,
Definitely that's not in the funny.
no, it's not funny though. No.
We're not condoning this. Let's make this clear. So this comes. You know what? Maybe there must be
Something
a full
you'll
moon.
never need to worry about, John.
There must be a full moon. A couple of weeks ago, we had the shit guy on the MPK ticket machines.
Did they ever catch him?
Then we had the public masturbator on the bus. Now we have the guy who's cutting women's hair and running away.
I think the shitstorm's going to strike again. He hasn't been caught yet. He's still out there smearing his hands, waiting for action.
I think it could all be the same guy.
He's also attacked a few
What
ATMs.
if he's the same guy?
You reckon the hair cutter and the shit smearer are the same guy?
Why not?
And the masturbator.
And the masturbator.
Yeah, the bus jerker offer.
Seems a bit low key for him, man.
Well, I thought the masturbator was caught. No.
I'd say there's a good.
He got away.
I'd say there's any
He
cop.
got off,
Any
yeah.
cop would tell you there's a bus wank every night.
There's a what?
A bus wank every night. This one just happened to make the media. These other attacks are a bit more bizarre, I would say. Like, anyway, how did we get here? Let's say
idea.
good night to the good people of the KrakCast, John. Don't ask
Thanks for
a
listening. I think
let's go.
We not only thank you, but really an apology, I think, for the show as well. And a very sincere thank you for making it to the end of this one. Don't forget to go to our website if you still have any interest whatsoever in listening to anything we've ever recorded. All of our 200 plus back episodes are there, along with the donate button. If you like what we're doing, please consider
No refunds.
Oh, and you know what? I should have said this at the top of the show. If you're listening to us from a Facebook link, give us a like or a share or leave us a review or something. All for that big algorithm in the sky. It does help us get noticed.
We consider a review or a nice comment, nearly as good as a donation. Hey?
Nearly, not quite. Nearly, yeah. Maybe donations are better, but we'll take the review or the like, or even just give us some comments. We got some good comments this week.
Yeah, give us some comments.
We got good comments this week on the show we did about the weird things that Polish people do. We got tons and tons of suggestions for ideas for another. Maybe we'll come back to that subject soon. Lots of subjects. Lots of suggestions. And so just a little more feedback on Facebook is very welcome. Thanks again, everybody. And we'll see you next time on the KrakCast News.